Well, I'm here, just Keith Hayes with uh, Mirador Television, Lewis, out of Lewis in East Sussex in the United Kingdom, but broadcasting to the world, and very happy to do so. And there is so much in common. The amazing thing is that here is this uh, rather locally, not parochially, locally directed television program, and we get uh, people from all over the world, not just from one spot. I mean, we had several from Canada, and then we got several from the United States, and then we got a couple from Africa yesterday. I mean, it's most gratifying that it's not so much that they're watching Mirador Television. Whoa, ho, 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 ho. What really is the nice thing about this is that it just shows that there are people around the world who are not parochial. They can understand that listening or talking to local people in a confined community, can bring benefits because they find out what the problems are and can share them. And we discovered that when the mayor of Lewis spoke on Mirador Television. I had spent half an hour with the mayor of Lewis in Delaware. And they said, we are surprised because we have so many problems in common. We like to think that our philosophy or our policy or whatever you want to call it, that we are local but not parochial, that we talk to the rest of the world, bears some fruit. And incidentally, the doctor told me the other day, apparently I'm going tap, tap, tap against getting diabetes. And he said, you be careful, you be careful. And one of the things that I have to be careful about is this whole idea of 5 a day, which has been impressed upon us. Let's have 5 pieces of fruit a day. Is be careful, because fruit carries as much sugar as anything else. You might as well have 5 chocolate bars as well as 5 fruit a day. I'm not saying that fruit is bad for you. On the contrary, I still eat it. But the idea of packing it in and we're not getting any sugar into our veins is a non-starter. Don't do it. Right, the weather this morning in Lewis and in Sussex area is that we're going to have quite reasonably high, not as warm as recently, but 13 degrees. It is 10 degrees right now. 8 was the low, but over the next couple of days, at night, it's going to sink to only just above 2 degrees. So that's cool again, and you'll need to wrap up. Wind is continued. Let me have a look. I'd like to confirm the weather forecast with the tree outside the studio window. It is perfectly calm. It's not blowing at all. But the wind is supposed to be 13 miles per hour today, 13 knots. So that's what you can expect. So watch out if you're wearing a tit-for-light line, because it can go sprawling, and then you suddenly have to tear off down the street to get it. I lost one. I lost one on the underground. It came off with the gust of wind from the underground coming into the station, and they blew it onto the tracks and underneath, and that was that. Gone forever, I'm afraid. So luckily, I got a second one, but I haven't got a second one anymore. So I really do have to be very careful. Oh, well, what a lovely little ramble to get cracking with at the beginning of the day. Right, who are we? And it is important for people to know who Mirador is. So here we are with our little tale of 2 cities, Lewis and Lewis. And actually, it's only just Lewis and what Mirador is and where we are and what this little town of Lewis is all about. So there we are. That's Mirador Television, and welcome to us. And we are more and more going live. Yesterday afternoon, Stephen Catlin had a couple of relatively important items from the local council. And he came into the studio where we normally would have put a television camera on him and taken the stuff and said, "Okay, Stephen, we'll put it together, we'll package it." And we have got stuff to package for all sorts of people, but it's packages, by the way, putting a program together or an item together. We're way behind simply because there's just me and my good colleague Paul Fowle, who's come on board, but just in the last couple of days, and so it's difficult to catch up immediately. We need to take a look at what the problems are and how we can overcome them, and we are beginning to overcome them. But we are doing far more live, and what will happen is if you're actually tapped in to Mirador Television Lewis, is on your phone or on your laptop or whatever, it'll come a little ping and it'll say Mirador Television is live. So you can then you can manage to avoid us or watch us or join us or whatever. So we will be doing far more live than we have, and we will be giving you the opportunity to get on board. We just need a little bit of help because we do tend to be old codgers on this program, and thank God we are, because it's the 40 to 70-year-olds that nobody wants, and yet they're the people with the money. A startling statistic, and I checked it out on three different, being the good old journalist I am, I checked this out on three different items, sites, and that is that 90% of the wealth, available wealth, spending power, and so on, it lies with the 40 to 70-year-olds. 90%, and yet all the advertisers go for the youngsters. And perhaps they part with their money easier, but certainly they haven't got it. Mind you, that's eternal youth for me, because I haven't got it either. But I am part of that group that should have it. but anyway, we are going more live. Stephen will be popping up. We're going to start to interview some of our leaders, the mayor, etc., on a regular basis to keep you informed. Paul will have a business program, and don't poo-poo, because a business program can start to tell you how much more your jar of coffee is going to cost you at the supermarket, as well as what your shares are doing when they hit the London Stock Exchange. So there's plenty that is coming up. And we've got one or two really nice surprises. We've got a couple of programs to finish off. We've got the last episode of my sparring, if you like, with the young people in New York who are looked after by people in Lewis. I mean, quite a remarkable relationship, really, and what a sprightly bunch they are. So the last episode where they jump onto me and pummel me, and no, they don't. They're really delightful lot. That's coming up. But the lady who looks after that group, and who is our contact with them, is also a writer of children's books, and we're trying to find a way to make those books as animated and interesting as possible. So there you are. It may be that they're children's books, but they really are. I've read a couple of them, or stories anyway, and they suit television very well. Just take us a little bit of time to develop them. So those are the sort of things that we're looking at. And one or two more things. I'm hoping that we can have what I call a workers' playtime. That there'll be an hour's live where those people who understand what the ladies of our society like to talk about can talk. That we can open up the phones and we can open up the studio, and the people can come on and express their views. It takes a little bit of putting together, but we're well on the way, and I hope that some of those things will be coming towards you. But now let's just take a quick look at Well, we've just given you the weather, and we try hard not to copy too uh, closely what's happening on the national stage because you're not going to switch over from BBC to watch us. We like to think that perhaps we bring a different angle to the news. But one of the things that caught my eye at the moment is that there is the garden centre at Stonecross has made an application to sell alcohol, to sell booze. And what a good idea! What a good diverse. I mean, the government keeps on saying to us all, "Come on, let's be diverse. Let's do other things." And to sell booze is probably one of those things that nobody has thought of for a garden centre. But I would assume that it's carry away booze. You can't go in there and belly up to belly up to the lawnmower and have a pint. But nonetheless, innovative indeed. The other thing, right across the county, and I suppose really this is all to do with COVID, is that the undertakers report a big rise, quite a steep rise in cremations as opposed to burials, and I think that's probably the fact that we do have people who are dying from this dreadful virus, and that's the way that they feel they can make life safer for those around them. I don't know whether that's true or not, but anyway, there has been a big rise in cremations. All right, now poor old Nicola up in Scotland is taking flack. she's so used to giving it that I think the pictures this morning are of a lady who's shell shocked for the reaction to her COVID exit plan. Because everybody says she's being far too cautious, that the Scots have given up as much as the rest of the country, and that they shouldn't actually pay a bigger price just because they're in Scotland than the rest of us. So Nicola had managed to extend everything to the end of April. And the boys and girls are not happy bunnies at all. So there is a bit of a problem north of the border. So she's so used to handing it out and dishing it out, and everybody running for cover. Is that for once she is taking a stick, and let's just remind ourselves of the good people that have been working on our behalf, because it's easy to forget, isn't it? When a crisis ends, we forget who the heroes were. This is the sort of people they were. Yeah, those are the people that have been our heroes. I have never been a great fan of the NHS as such, the bureaucracy and those that actually tie us up all in red tape. There are enough of those in every element of government and governance. But I am a great supporter of the doctors and the nurses. I have wonderful nurses. Actually, I've got a wonderful doctor, and I got a wonderful consultant. For my Parkinson's, I flirt outrageously with them, but they actually are very sweet. They don't say, stop it, you old bugger. You're far too old for that sort of nonsense. They they treat me very gently and don't put me down. They make me feel as if perhaps I'm having a bit of fun, and they are too. But also, our local, the head of our local major practice, and I keep on forgetting what they call it now. But mine is St Andrew's surgery, and Jason Heath. And we haven't always seen eye to eye over a number of things. However, I must say that he has really, when I chatted to him the other day, has thought a lot of these things out, why he's doing things. And then I was fortunate enough to have a chat about a month ago with the previous head of practice, Jonathan, sorry, I was going to say Jonathan Ross, Rick Ross, Dr. Rick Ross, and I was able to sort of balance what the two of them said. Both of them make a lot of sense, and if somebody will actually find a medium road between the two of them, I think that we could have one of the very, very finest NHS practices anywhere in the country. It's not bad at the moment, but it could really be superb because they both have got a very, very good point of view. So that's the NHS. That's the people that have been looking after us. The coronavirus vaccine continues to forge ahead, continues to look as if it's good. It continues to look as if it's doing its job. Some of us still need the second one. It's the NHS bloody computers where I get the letter yesterday which says, you've got to stay in until March the 31st. And as I was very plaintive in my cries on Facebook yesterday when I put in a little post, as they call it, a little note, and said, they want me to stay in behind bars, if you like, behind the closed door until March the 31st, and yet they're talking about opening up the pubs sometime in March. I mean, how could they do that to a man? Now, that is water torture or non-water torture, as the case may be. So those are the sort of things that start to upset me about the NHS. And I think it's all to do with computers. Well, it is to do with computers. Far too much reliance upon computers. I'm not saying that computers aren't helpful in almost every aspect of our society. Of course they are. But now there is over-reliance, and they're left to get on with them, things themselves. And the one thing that computers don't understand is public relations. They don't understand being nice or not nice. All they do is they churn out something that is it can be very mean and inaccurate for that matter. I mean, the last time that I was supposed to go for my consultancy for my Parkinson's is I got a letter telling me that the appointment, which I'd kept, it was the day before. In other words, they alerted me to the fact that I missed an appointment. Not saying that I missed it. They were reminding me that it was going to take place and it was a day late. And the hub, as they call it, is desperate and does those sort of things. So that's the NHS. Now, summer schools in England are part of a catch-up plan. Um, something flashed up on my screen, and I've got a feeling that it's because the computer stores things and it gets rid of them as soon as it possibly can. The computer again, that Boris had said lockdown ends on March the 8th. Well, I don't think that that's accurate. I think that what we got yesterday, the 4-stage plan, is the way it goes. Yes, some things will happen, particularly with schools and so on, in March. In April, we will start to get back a part of the pubs, perhaps not inside, but outside, and able to meet and greet others rather than those in our own household. And we can go on picnics and that sort of thing. And then in May, almost a full opening of everything. And if there's anything left by June, wow, the doors open. So that's the plan, and I don't think that it's changed. Except, of course, there was a caveat yesterday, and that is that this plan, be very careful because it's not 100% sure that it's going to actually kick in. And if, in fact, anything happens between now and March the 8th, then it's not set in stone. They'll go back and they'll review again. So do be a bit cautious. Don't get the champagne out yet. Well, you can get the champagne out yet, but don't start to celebrate too soon until we know for absolute sure. But it's looking good. It's looking much better, and we're delighted that between the vaccine and the sacrifice that all of us have made, this has not been an easy lockdown. It has not been an easy lockdown at all. Strangely enough, I have made 3 or 4 friends on Facebook, and I don't normally click onto friends. Somebody asking friends if I don't recognize the name. But I did with 2 or 3 people, and don't ask me why. And I just got to know them during lockdown, and what an interesting bunch they are. I can't say that they're ordinary, far from it. And some of them can be a bit naughty, but by the same token, they've been a breath of fresh air, and it's been great to be able to talk to people like that because it's put some spark back into me, and I'm ready to forge ahead. Even the local council yesterday brought a nice little bit of grin to my face because at long last, after much prevarication, they got a plan in place, and it looks as if we'll be able to get caught up. And the things that we've not been able to do in February is that we will be able to. And thank goodness for that, because that then gives us a level playing field to start off in March with a brand new approach to our programs, a brand new approach to the studio. We can start to get it ready again, and we can start to broadcast some really worthwhile programs and not just me rabbiting on. Yeah, it's from a COVID point of view. I think yesterday was pretty good, and it looks as if it's going ahead. But poor old Nicola in Scotland is taking stick, and the England plan, I think it's quite a good one. The summer school for catch up. I actually took my university degree at the University of British Columbia in Canada, and they use a semester system. So you have 2 major semesters from September to Christmas, and then the New Year to spring, in which the bulk of the work is done. And then if you need catch up, you can use summer school. And if you can't, if you don't need it, you can go off and you can work. And I got some very interesting summer jobs, all of which helped me eventually to become a journalist, because it gave me an opportunity to see people at work and to see what drove them, what sort of things that worried them. At one stage, I was in a construction camp. I was helping to build a road through the Trans-Canada Highway, which you can now drive, by the way, and I've driven just a little bit of it, not the whole thing. But I'm very proud that I was part of building that road, which opened up Western Canada to Eastern Canada. But there were some Italian and Portuguese workers there, all of whom during the winter months when they couldn't work out in the interior had made girlfriends and so on and so forth. But they hadn't the English capability of writing them love letters. So on a Sunday, I would sit there and I would write love letters for these Portuguese and Italians, saying to their loved ones in Vancouver how well they were doing, and they would say I'm a foreman, even though they were only a labourer. So I learned to exaggerate just a little as well. But those are the sort of things that you learn when you actually go to work. And I went to work for 4 summers, doing various things, different things, as because of the semester system, because of summer school. So it can't all be bad. And I think it's not a bad idea at all to help catch up with people's education, particularly since they have lost more or less a year. No question that they've lost a lot. All right. Dramatic jump in the number of women on boards. Oh, that's a positive story, isn't it? Well, it is if you worry about that sort of equality, whether there should be as many women on boards as men. I personally don't take that view. What I take a view is I don't care what the ratio is, as long as the people on the boards are competent. Because if they're not, that company and then society as a whole is in trouble. And if we're going to choose people from ratios, I don't understand the argument at all. I do not understand the argument. We're short of a lady on the board. Let's put a lady on the board. She's completely useless, but that's okay. We met the ratio. But that goes for all sorts of other things. I just want people who are competent. I don't care whether they're all black ladies on a board, as long as they can do the job and can do the job properly. But anyway, good news, I suppose, for some people. Um, Prince Philip is to stay in hospital with an infection for a little bit longer. His son, was it yesterday or the day before? Prince Charles went to see him. And in some ways, it is well known that the relationship between the two of them was never terribly strong. But it's often the case that as you grow older, you tend to forgive the what perceived sins of youth, and family becomes very important. So I'm glad that Charles went along and saw his dad. It doesn't matter whether you're royalist, not royalist, or whatever. Is that the fact is that there's a bit of family, and a very high-profile family at work, and doing the right thing. Ha, ha. I had to laugh when I saw this one. Most pheasants sold for food contain lead shot. Well, they're game birds. They come directly off the various estates where they go out and they shoot these birds. Yes, they rear them as a result, but they're not a processed food in any sense. They come straight off the farm, and so when they're shot, there's nobody there saying tut tut tut. Put it through the machine, get rid of the lead shot. So that story to me makes no sense whatsoever. And I also think that one of the things that we have to worry about with these sort of things is that we search for things which, that sounds awful. Well, it hasn't killed anybody, as far as I'm aware, from lead poisoning or anything else, or even choking on a lead pellet in dozens and dozens and dozens of years, actually hundreds of years probably. So why are we getting excited about it now? I have no idea. But there we are. It's a story that, oh, surprise, surprise, the pheasant has got lead shot in it. Yeah, it was shot with a shotgun. Oh dear, dear, dear. So we I can't see that there are other things that we're missing at the moment, except going back to the fact that Nicola is having a bit of a raw time north of the border, and that she's not used to that. We could take a look at other news headlines and see if there are different things on there. Tiger Woods was in a car crash. I mean, what an interesting life that man has led. And it may well be that you would say interesting isn't the word. He's been a huge victim of his own misfortune, and all sorts of things happened to him. To the point where, of course, he stopped playing golf because of his mental approach to life. But he's come back very strongly. Been playing some good golf recently, and now he's been in a car crash. Well, it can only happen to some. Stamp duty holiday will be extended by 3 months. Those of you who are buying a house, I suppose that's important. If you're going to do it, get on with it. You've got another 3 months. And rogue letting agents face £30,000 fines in the training standards clampdown, and that's good to hear, because the letting agents, even the respectable ones, were playing fast and loose with rentals, and don't I know it, in the lead up to lockdown. And when they started to get their fingers burned, they decided perhaps they would look at things in a different way. And some of them have become very, very decent, or never stopped being decent. But others just couldn't wait to try to stuff the coffers full, on the basis that people needed to move house, they needed to get rentals, they needed a place to stay. And it is a bit naughty. So I'm glad that they're going to get their fingers burned. I think that those are probably the main headlines this morning. So let's, where are we? Oh, it's 1 minute past 8. We've been going for an hour. Let's, well, I think it's time really for us to make sure that we're earning our crust.
When you've missed the train, don't despair. Have a nice cup of coffee. And perhaps a mince pie. At the runaway on Lewis Station. After that, why worry about the next train? The runaway on Lewis Station. Relaxation beyond compare.
One of the things that I rabbited on about, there are two things which are my pet topics at the moment. One is the fact that we, as countries and peoples, have stopped understanding one another. It's much easier to say, as we always have, but not quite in the same with the same volatility. Damn French or the damn Germans or whatever. But I'm happy to say that we actually get people tapping in to say that they're watching Mirador Television from all points of the globe. And that is really, really very, very, I've got great gratitude for it, simply because it shows that not everybody is up their own bottoms, as it were. That they want to know what happens in a tiny little town such as ours. And we hope that in the next month that we will improve letting them know, and that we will bring back our international streaming so that we can go to all the billions of people that we said we have been before, which we were. So that's why perhaps we're feeling rather good about coming out of a lockdown, or told we're coming out of lockdown, is we can do all sorts of interesting things. And indeed, we are trying to do all sorts of interesting things. And if you've got any ideas, by all means, let us know. It doesn't matter, you go onto this website or whatever, you'll find a way to get in touch with us. We're very happy for you to do so. Let me just see, because there's a way of. No, we haven't got anybody tapped in this morning. I, as an old pro in television, have to get used to the fact is that there may be only 10 of you that watch while we go live. But at the end of the day, sometimes it's gone up to as much as 1,000, depending on what we're talking about and how interesting it is. So it is an accumulation as we go on through the day. So people watch when they want to watch, and quite rightly so. Quite rightly so. Why should we force people to watch at 7:30 in the morning if they're not ready to watch at 7:30 in the morning? But the fact that it's available to them throughout the day and that they like the sort of thing that we talk about that's a very welcome trend. So uh, I was going to talk about all sorts of interesting things there. Now, of course, they've gone out of my mind because I'm the master of what they call the red herring. I can be talking about one thing and I go down some avenue and then it's eventually has nothing to do with what I was talking about in the first place, but I can't remember what that was to begin with. And I don't think that it was anything earth-shattering. I do think that with all the awe and wonder of getting back to normalcy, is that we should remember that a lot of experts and indeed people on this television station believe that normalcy is going to take a long time to return, even if it ever does. So I think it behooves all of us to try and decide what it is that we've learned from lockdown. What sort of things have we enjoyed and what sort of things have we missed? I've already had an invitation to lunch from some friends who want to make sure that we can get back to having lunch the moment the lockdown is through. And indeed, as he said, I've got a book now because the restaurant placings are being eaten up by people wanting to get back. But actually, you can't make up for it. I mean, just because you go back to lunch, to having a lunch on March the 1st or May the 1st or whatever, it doesn't mean to say that will make up for the months that you weren't able to do it. So why it'll be a bit like toilet paper. People will go and they'll do these things and they'll jam pack the restaurants for a little while, and then it will turn back, and we'll start to do what we always did, or will we? Will our approach to things be the same? And I think that's one of the things that you need to ask yourself. Is because there are two things. One, we could be disappointed that things aren't going back to the way that we remember them. And the disappointment will be much greater, I think, for those of us of a stately age than the younger people, because we can remember so many good things, and we mourn the passing of them. And the English pub is one that's been under threat. And I hope that we won't have to see just a casualty list of pubs. Lewis in the mid 1800s had 63 pubs and 18 breweries. That's a disputed figure. It's either 17 or 18. And it's very interesting that we now are down to 16 pubs. And the chances are that after this lockdown, we're going to find that it is probably down to 8 or 10. Perhaps 2 or 3 will survive as restaurants. I don't know. Some of the pubs have turned into being very good restaurants, but they're not pubs. You can't belly up to the bar, and that's how I think we're after it. And one pub here is a free house. In other words, it's not owned by any particular brewery, but a very nice man and his family in charge, the brewers. They refuse to open under the terms of you've got to be with X number of people, and this is what you have to do, and so on and so forth. They said, no, we're what is known as a wet pub. You come in here and you belly up to the bar, and you may have something to eat, but what you do is you go in here primarily to have a drink and a chat and to socialize. And they say we're not opening up again until such time as that atmosphere and that ability to belly up to the bar comes back. Very brave of them. Hopefully they'll get away with it. Who knows who the casualties are going to be? Because I think it'll be the next 3 or 4 weeks that will start to put up the casualty lists. Some businesses will not be able to get back on track. This one looked for a little while as if it was in trouble because of the lockdown requirements. It looks a little bit as if we can get out of that. It takes a little while. That's why you're putting up with me rather than some stories on video right at this very moment. But I think that we're going to be okay, and we'll be with you, and we'll try to serve you with a public service as much as we can, and try to make you laugh and grin and giggle and with all sorts of things. And here's one lady, just to remind you that she'll be seen quite regularly soon, who makes everybody grin.
Hi, I'm Jane at Mirador Television, and I love to recycle, upcycle, renovate, decorate, paint, and if I can find any old junk, I'm happy to turn it into something else. So in the next few months, I'm going to give you some ideas and show you what I'm up to at home, from turning tins into bins, making garden cushions, and my recent find was a Lloyd Loom ottoman, which has a wonky leg, but I'm going to try and renovate the leg and find some lovely fabrics. So lots going on. This week, I'm just going to show you a couple of old cot bumpers that I found hanging around the house from some time ago. And I thought, well, I don't want to waste the foam. I'll turn them into some seat cushions for the garden bench.
Well, good for Jane. And if you're into that sort of thing, this is the place to be. Mirador Television. Yeah, I think that it's time, and I do need a little bit of help this morning. It's 8:13, so let's remind everybody, particularly who's not from this area, who and what we are all about. There's some nice pictures in it anyway. Well, there we are. That's who we are, and that's who hopefully we're going to stay as part of this community. And we are a bit rare. There aren't too many television operations like us, and particularly those that broadcast to the rest of the world as well. I actually started to say, and then I got diverted, of course, that I put in a little bit of a bit of video onto Vancouver in British Columbia, 8,000 miles away, and to one of their pages on Facebook, and I put a little bit in, which I thought was telling them about something that was happening in Lewes, and in fact, I only put in half of it. So I put in a little excuse and sort of said, I'm terribly sorry what we did. We'll be good boys. We'll try better in the future. But the man who runs it came back and said, no, don't worry about it. We're just so glad to hear and know that people in England pay attention to what's happening in Vancouver. So there you are. That the sort of thing that we're able to provide is so very important to communities around the world as well as here. So do try to produce stuff for us. Let us know what's going on and what's happening so that we can transfer that and tell your story to the rest of the world. And we can. We need to know it first. Okay, it's 8:17. A reminder of the weather. It was 10 degrees a little while ago. It's probably crept up a little bit now because the high today is going to be 13. Not too bad. But then the low over the next few days is going to be as little as 2 degrees at night, and that's cool. That's cold. And so wrap up. Cloud today, some sunshine, and actually I can see a blue streak over there in the sky. So it looks as if yes, we're going to have a half decent type of day. The wind is 13 miles per hour, or 13 knots, as they say, which isn't quite miles per hour, but nonetheless. And we expect for the rest of the week the temperatures will plunge at night, and it won't be much above freezing. So do watch out, and that's the weather forecast for the region. Did I mention rain? No, because we're not going to have any, according to the experts. So let's breathe a sigh of relief. In the news, well, the one thing that caught my eye this morning, rather a nice local piece of news, is that in Stone Cross, the garden centre has applied for a license to sell booze. I think that's a great idea. Because somebody will come along and say, no, hang on, we don't need more people selling booze. But generally speaking, if it's done in a nice, tidy and organised way, we don't get in one another's way. And in fact, those sort of initiatives help rather than hinder local traffic, local business. Nicola Sturgeon in Scotland has got her fingers badly burned because her timetable is much slower than the UK timetable, and she is being pilloried for it. There isn't a news headline this morning that hasn't blasted her for her approach to the end of a lockdown. And let's hope it is the end, because there are still some warnings that there have been increases overnight in various places. The Americans yesterday mourned 500,000 of people who have been lost as a result of this pandemic. So we're not all over by any means. But we are seeing the lights, and we are seeing the rewards of our lockdown capacity to hold onto lockdown. And also to be as fast as we were with the jab. I was quite amused that a number of people have said quite publicly, oh, I don't think I want to take it because I don't know what influence it would have or what effect it would have. Well, I can tell you, I didn't even notice that it was being applied. Mind you, the nurses were 2 very, very pretty nurses, so that helped. But one of the things that we've had in our community is a sense of propriety. We haven't had great raves, as far as I'm aware, anyway. We haven't had people going out and breaking COVID rules, which has happened in the rest of the country. And those are the people that perhaps have boosted the incidence of infection, the rate of the virus in the pandemic, despite the fact that we've done so well with the jab. Those are the sort of things that have been happening really in our community. It's always COVID, isn't it, at the moment? Prince Charles has been to visit his grandfather, who is now in the third day of his own particular lockdown, which is not because of COVID, is because of an infection that he's got. So that's more or less the news as we see it. If you want to give us a little bit of a boost, is perhaps if you're a trader, think about this. I have to say that one of the things that has been, for which I've been personally grateful, is those people that I know who are friends on Facebook and social media. And I'm one of those who, from time to time, poo-poos social media. But in getting in touch and saying, keep at it, Keith, and don't get down, and you'll see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm grateful to you because actually we are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. It's not going to be fast. It's not going to be pretty, but we're going to get there. So I'm happy that their words of encouragement kept me going, as Churchill would have said, in the darkest hour. And we did have some dark hours during this COVID. We really did. But one of the ways to actually get out, what you'll be seeing a lot of in the next few months, is this gentleman who has been looking after the gardening scene for us and is going to continue to do so with new and innovative ideas.
Good morning, peeps. We're back in Hailsham after 3 weeks. I've had a few issues going on with health and various other stuff, but back to full strength again now. Gardens are looking good. As you can see, the rain is here to help things grow. So our little perennial garden in Hailsham that we've been working on for the last few months is now really coming together. We've got enormous hollyhocks growing. The alliums are all out, cicerantiums. It's an absolute blast of life now, and we're still not in the main growing season. So another few weeks, it will really come to life. So as you can remember, we planted courgettes and peas and sugar snaps in the outside bed. So the courgettes are now flowering, and the sugar snaps and the peas are doing remarkably well.
Well, there we are. I got caught out. I was looking for the next stuff, and we were back. Alex went away. Never mind. Where are we now? We're at 8:26, and we've got 4 more minutes. So just to recap, COVID, can't get away from it. The 4 stages of return start next month. Summer school looks a reality for a good many students. In next month, university students will know when they can start to return to campuses across the country. And it looks as if some shops will start to open towards the end of the month, and perhaps a few pubs, even albeit only as restaurants, in the next month, in April. But then it should all be working fairly well in let's see, April, May, and that the whole thing should be done and dusted in June. Let's hope that that's the case. And then you won't find me exhausted from trying to run a one-man band. We'll have the team back and putting out a very decent program. But we have tried very hard to put out a program for you, and we almost made it. We almost made it. We've only got 2 days to go. Tomorrow and Friday, and then Monday we shall hit the ground running with a brand new break an egg, a brand new Mirador, a brand new group of people who are making contributions. And it's an exciting time for us, and I hope that you'll find it an exciting time for you. 8:27, and the weather today, wrap up tomorrow morning. For today, rather pleasant. I think, let's see, the high will be 13, and it's about 10 or 11 outside at the moment. There's a fairly stiff breeze, but we can expect some more sun. Rather good. So a chance for you to get out, except we're not supposed to go out at the moment. But I think that if you've got a little rehearsal ready for next month, when things should ease considerably, then everything should be okay. Doodle pip for the moment, and I hope that we will pop up, by the way, during the day, as indeed Stephen Catlett did the other day, and the youngsters from New York. We will pop up live. So keep your little snappy on your phone, because if you've got Facebook on it, it'll come up, say Mirador Television, Lewis is live, or Keith Hayes is live, or whatever, and you can tap into those and keep up to date with us, and we're grateful for that. But it is 8:29, and if I sound as if I'm grateful that I should leave this morning, yes, it's been a rough week, a tough week, and I haven't. I can't say that I've slept terribly well, but here we are, ready for a brave new world, and let's hope that it happens the way that it should. So now I shall leave you, and then I shall go back to sleep. Toodle pip. And a very good morning to you. And I hope you have a very good day. Cheerio.